Our first speaker is one of the most renowned wealth and billionaire researchers in Europe. And he's coming from Austria, from the Sigmund Freud University. And his work is about psychology and future management and preventive use and emotional understanding of digitization, globalization, and artificial intelligence for business, politics, and society. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Thomas Druyens. And the topic of his keynote will be the radical change in our perception, the spirit of the time, and the task of science. Thomas.
It's a great honor for me to speak in front of you. I had the luck to visit the university several times, and I must admit that I didn't know about Ben Gurion before, because if there's such an incredible university built in Morocco, they would do it in Casablanca, in Rabat, or maybe in Marrakesh. Since I visited, as I said, the university, I think this is an incredible idea. It's absolutely future-oriented to bring it to Ben Gurion, because from here, I'm sure you can change something internationally, not only regarding science, also regarding the perception of the things we have to do in the future, and that is quite a challenge for us. So as you see, I'm coming from Vienna, Sigmund Freud University. I feel a little bit exotic here because there are so many natural scientists and engineers, and I'm sociologist and psychologist, but maybe I can give you something interesting, hopefully. So the spirit of the time, what is the spirit of the time? That is for me one of the most important questions. And the spirit of the time is a huge gap, and I would say a contradiction. We have more money in the world than ever before, but we still have a lot of poverty and inequality. This is a big gap. We have as much knowledge, more knowledge than ever before, but we have a big gap regarding understanding. We have more millionaires and billionaires in the world than ever before, but we still have millions of immigrants, and it's growing. So I could carry on with this description, but since we talk about the future, I want to figure out the positive elements. But the task of science, what can it be? For me, it's enlightenment, because there's such a drastic development, there's such a drastic change in the world, but not many people know about it. I mean, here we are more or less experts, specialists. We have already a great chance given by life. But at least for 5 billion people, there are not a lot of chances. So I think the task of science is that we bring the message across and that we give perspectives to other people as well. So what we are doing, I will shortly show you a little bit. That's a little bit of vanity from my side. I talk with many people in the world about change. You can see Nobel laureates, presidents, and so on, and Prince Charles, but that is not the main point today. Our institute is founded 5 years ago, and what we really try to do is to describe and analyze the psychological effects of digitization, of artificial intelligence, and of course of overtaxing. Because many people in these days have the feeling that the time is running faster than ever before, that through the globalization we have no valid points anymore. Everything is changing so quickly. For the first time in history, we don't know what professions we will have within the next 10 years. So the horizon of our development is not clear. And so I think it is really necessary for all of us to find a description. And that's why I'm very proud to have the first talk in such a kind of conference, because we have to work interdisciplinary. That's not just a single science who can save the world. We all have to work closely together to bring a new effort. You see that there's a lot of virtual images. What we are doing, the major thing is we try to get access to the subconscious. That is our scientific work. And how do we do that? We do it through interviews. We are doing thousands of interviews with people all over the world in all the generations, from 6-7-year-old girls and boys to very old people. My oldest interview partner was 104, but she was very clever and she was very fit and she was from Africa. So, and the sense of our interviews is, as I said, to get access to the subconscious. Because in these days, if you ask a normal person, most of them will lie. Not lie in a bad way, with a bad character, but what they think is enormously depending on the situation they are in. I give you an example. In Vienna, we made interviews, 1,000 interviewers spoke to 1,000 people, and they all gave them the same question. But we had 900 different answers. Yeah? 1 week later, we did the same. And again, totally different answers. So that means that our convictions are totally different than 10 years ago, 100 years ago. We are changing our opinions. We are changing our mentalities. And that's already a reaction to a very, very fast time. So I will show you later a little video about our work with avatars. This is the machine we are using. It looks like an old telephone booth. You go inside, it takes you 5 minutes, and then we have an avatar. And with an avatar, I think that's very interesting for OCP as well. You don't need to travel. If a CEO or a Secretary General who is going to other countries as well, with your avatar, you can send him, you have no travel costs, and you can talk almost in real on stage. But we will talk about it later. Are there people talking about the future? Her predictability was right in the past. Are guys from Boston Consulting or other huge advising and consulting companies? No. There's just one group of people within the past who gave us some very clever and intelligent forecasts. And that were people from art, literates, and you can see here a few films, I don't know whether you know them already, that are almost science fiction films. And in science fiction films, for example, Star Wars, or Her, or Ex Machina, or in these days, Westworld, you can see the future. You can see the future which we will discover within the next 10, 15 years. I thought, and we thought, that is really astonishing, that the only level, the only talent, the only competence to have an anticipation of the future is fantasy. And I think that is very important also for my subject, because within our interviews, we try to discover a space of people within their imagination. You understand? So if we make an interview, we talk about different walks of life, but all the questions are in a perspective, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in the future. That means you don't have ready-made questions. Yeah? So you have to think yourself. And to think means to combine it with your emotions. And that's why I can say, after 5,000 interviews which we have done, we got a future image more from an inside of the person, more oriented by the subconsciousness. And that's very interesting because it's totally different what you read in books. What people think about the future is different than what we discovered in science. So this is the structure what we do. In the past 150 years, psychology and psychoanalysis had a very, and still has a very big and important function and responsibility. As soon you have a problem, as soon you have something like modern burnout, you go to a doctor. What we try to do is to avoid this burnout. Before you have the problem, you should anticipate what will come, and then within your imagination, you can think about solutions already before the problem will be a part of your reality. You all know him most probably, and he was talking all his life about intelligence. And we have to think in such a fantastic conference as well about intelligence, because there are totally different forms of intelligence right now. I think it's very important that we learn more about emotional intelligence and social intelligence. To close the gaps in the world, we have to think about these bridge-building processes. And of course, everybody talks about the artificial intelligence. But the artificial intelligence, it doesn't matter if you are using robots, if you are using different ways of huge computers, it's always affecting your emotionality as well. And most of the people, they really have a personal relationship with their mobile phone, with a smartphone. It became almost organic. Most of the people can't survive with this incredible tool. But we don't have a science about it. But it's changing our reality. And if I talk to parents here, and I just mentioned Fortnite, then we all know what it means to young people. They are busy with new games, and we are not sure, and nobody is able to find a result if it's good or not. What we know already, that children's brains between 8 and 15, for example, are changing already because they are growing up with images. And that's something totally different than growing up like us with words, lessons. It's a totally different way of making neuronal bridges and synapses connections. So, what I want to say, we have an incredible knowledge overload. There was never so much knowledge in the world than today. We have so many resources, technical-wise. We get every information in real time. So, but did our brain change within the last 100 years? Do we train our brain every day? No, we don't. Of course, we train it a little bit, but the expansion is not that big. So I think we have to find an answer to this artificial intelligence. And there's no doubt that artificial intelligence is a fantastic development. But as all the developments in human history, it has, of course, two sides. And we have to analyze both, and we have to find a reaction mainly within our brain. So, what I must repeat, there's a huge knowledge overload, more knowledge than ever before. But paradoxically, we have not more understanding than before. And I have the impression it is the opposite. We don't understand the whole picture anymore. There's no scientist, no Nobel laureate, no president, and nobody who is like Leonardo da Vinci, able to overlook the world, And that is, of course, a new way also of leading. If you lead something and you don't know exactly what you are doing. So we have to think and rethink so many things, and for that we need a particular knowledge. And I would try to give you just an idea of that. So why is our life changing radically in a way which we never discovered in human history before? I give you, alone about this image, I could talk with you for 3 or 4 hours, but I have another 20 minutes, so let's hurry up. I give you an example. There's a little girl with 6 years or a boy with 6 years. For the first time in human history, these little kids have a competence, more competence than their grandparents and probably their parents as well. This has never happened in the whole history, because they can use the mobile phone or the smartphone or the gaming world much better than the grandparents. Okay, it's fine. But don't you think that this will change something in their idea of hierarchy, of authority? Yeah, definitely. We don't know the results so far, but you can see it already. You can see that they have a different kind of respect towards other people. We made analysis with young girls and boys between 14 and 18, and it came out that their idea of authority is totally different than ours. If they hear about a CEO, a president, or whatever, it doesn't mean automatically that they have respect. They are looking to the person. What is the contribution of the person? So we see a drastic change of mentalities. And that's why I'm fascinated that a university like here, people from all over the world are cooperating together. And that's, I think, is anyhow the only solution. We are world citizens, if we want to or not. And we have to work together, live together. And the main thing is that we have one goal together. That would be nice. Okay, I could talk much. Let's see, pre-education. What does it mean? We found out that people in every age, more or less, learns quicker, faster in the virtual reality. And if you move in the virtual reality, you can even remember what you have learned much better. So that means learning in the past, education in the past, was getting as much knowledge as possible about what has happened in the past. But now the new challenge is to find out what will happen in the future. We have to learn to anticipate. Prevention is the golden key to what we have to do. Because if we are able to predict on a mental status, it doesn't matter if it works or not. It's just training for the brain, So that's why I think also gamification is a wonderful tool to exercise with the future. Platforms, another radical change. Before Google appeared, there were no platforms in the world. But Google, this is a company founded by 2 guys. The 2 guys didn't ask no government, no United Nations, no politicians, nobody to open up their company. But now they have more influence than at least 50 countries together. And we are all working on this platform. So we had nations, we still have nations. We have governments, we still have governments. But we have platforms as well. And if you see that 2 platforms reached a level of trillion wealth, Apple and Amazon, the first 2 companies who reached this financial level, what they can do is just outstanding. If it's good or bad, I'm not the judge. But I can say, as a German citizen, Google University has more money than all the German universities together. So, and there's no doubt that something will come out of it. If we like it or not, different question. Okay, this very shortly, just to show you, our brain basically has 3 levels to make it very easy. The oldest one is 500 million years. That is our reptilian brain. Then a little bit later came the limbic system with all our emotions. And of course, we are proud on our neocortex, which is our ability to think. What I want to point out is, as soon we are under stress, as soon we have a problem, as soon we have a burnout, immediately and very, very fast we are working just with our reptilian brain. And if you watch the news every day, you see it every second, unfortunately. But it's good to know, and it's good to know also for young people, you know, because we can work with our brain. Yeah? And this is a new ability. Everybody has to learn how to bring energy and use your brain in a particular way, according to your own will. I just mention it because I think it's very important. So many people are surprised by themselves. Why did I do that? I mean, I'm a totally different person, but suddenly I had this opinion. And stress is the reason why. And in days like this, new technology, new life methods, new globalization, suddenly somebody who is losing his mind in the United States. So we are all afraid. Yeah? And that is creating stress. And stress is a horror for your brain. And just shortly mentioned, you see this red point, we all have two of them, that's called the amygdala. The amygdala is the part in our brain which is responsible for fear. So you take it as a glass. If you get up in the morning, your amygdala, your glass of amygdala is full. As soon you have stress, yeah, it's getting more and more empty. If your amygdala is not able to work anymore, you are immediately on the reptilian level of your brain. That means very, very simplified. With this level, you just can be shocked, you run away, or you become very aggressive. These are the three options. And it's with all of us, and it's very easy. And we can think about this brain structure, and we can think about Donald Trump, and we will have immediately a few results, but that's not the topic today. Through our scientific approach, we found out that we have more egos than ever before, that we have more realities than ever before. As I said, I'm coming from the Sigmund Freud University, so he discovered 3 parts of the ego, but now we have new ones. For example, if somebody from you is not on Facebook, I'm not on Facebook, but many people talk about you on Facebook. And if they talk bad about you, and they say that you have done something incredible, awful, other people will react to this. And suddenly, you have a virtual ego which has nothing to do with your behavior, which has nothing to do with your truth. But it can affect your life drastically. That's why in school we have already suicide at an early stage, because you can kill the reputation through technology. So I could, and there are a lot of other egos. Let's see the avatar. I'm working as an avatar. Today I could have a speech afterwards in Brazil or in Sweden, no problem. And I sit here on the couch and I talk to them and I see, this will come, I talk about it a little bit later. But since we have more egos, we are living in different realities as well. That is not easy for our brain. It's not easy for our emotionality. So we have to find a way to synchronize this, you know. But is anybody training it? No. If I want to lose weight, I do sport. If I want to learn a language, I invest a lot of time to learn new words, culture, etc. But do you work for your brain every day? 1 hour or 2? Did you really train your ability to synchronize these egos and realities? It has to come. And I think the university, of course, a university is the right place to do that. So, a lot theory you had heard. So we proved our impressions. We proved it in Germany. We got a offer, and we made a study. It's called The Ultimative Change, about the change mentality of Germany. So for 1 year, we went through the country and we spoke to several representatives of the society, and we wanted to find out what is the future competence of Germany. And the results are really astonishing. We would say, according to what we found out, that the German mentality is very strong. People can suffer, people can handle almost all kinds of problems. For example, we also spoke to handicapped people. And more than 50% of them, they said afterwards that they have accepted the problem, that they even find a way to have a better life. I think that is incredible. So I would say that the German mentality is very strong according to resilience. Yeah, fantastic. But on the other hand, we have a problem. And the problem is we have a lot of fear towards the future. Because we believe that we are living in the best time, that we have such a wealthy status quo, yeah, it can't be better than now. So all the wealthy people, all the successful people, all the people older than 40, they want to keep the status quo. They don't want change. They don't want risks. That's why also Europe has a problem, at least the western part. Also through the demographical change, we have more elder people than other parts of the world, you know. That's why in Germany, for example, in Austria, we need immigrants. We need people from the outside. But the public, of course, on an emotional level, thinks in a different way. So if we try to talk properly to the people, I think we can convince them there's a new model. What do I want to say? I think we all should measure the change capability of a country. I proposed it already here to several people in Morocco. What we found out so far might be interesting for you, because we did the same thing in Shanghai. The mentality of a country like Morocco, where the past is not that wealthy, the people are more able and more flexible to go a risk and to operate within the future than in a country like Germany and in Europe. Isn't it astonishing? So I really believe that Morocco has an incredible chance as a bridge-building country also between Europe and Africa. Because for me, there's no doubt that Africa is the future. Not only because of the resources, it's because of the people, of the youth, and of course, as a German I say, we have to give a lot back to Africa, because we stole so much and we still treat them just like poor people, and that's absolutely ridiculous from an ethical point of view. But I'm not a philosopher here today, very interesting. I say always very interesting. I'm an enthusiastic person, that's why. The German study gave us another insight, which says 97% of the population, they see every problem just through the private perspective. Just if they talk about the United States, they take it serious, they see Trump, but really valid for them is just if they have friends in the United States, or they are CEOs from big companies and they are affected immediately. In Germany, not many people are thinking about sustainability anymore, you know. Only if there is a huge flood in the same town, yeah, and you lose your home, then suddenly sustainability is a problem. And this is why we are losing loyalty. This is why we have in this world more individuals than ever before. But what we need is trust, of course, and the will to cooperate. So let's go in this direction of a solution. I talked a little bit about the contradiction between knowledge and not understanding. Another huge contradiction is between artificial intelligence and machine learning, deep learning. I mean, we all believe that this will be a new era of singularity. Singularity means that the capacity of algorithms and of the technical artificial intelligence is more flexible than our human brains. I don't know whether it's come. In these days, we just have to acknowledge that the new artificial intelligence helps us really. I saw blind people who can see. I saw people who are handicapped, they can walk, and this will come. So artificial intelligence is incredible. But is this artificial intelligence really able to be better than a human brain? I don't know. And it's not clear. But deep learning, machine learning, still tries to copy our brain. Yeah? Isn't it paradoxical? Isn't it funny that artificial intelligence is just copying our brain and afterwards they want to get rid of us? So somehow, for me, there is the solution not yet spoken. So what can we do? We have to find a way to select the right knowledge for us. That means in education, we have to learn the ability to understand more. Understanding is much more important than to know everything. Because we don't have to know everything, because our smartphone and other machines give us access to knowledge. Knowledge is over there, you know? So we have to learn something else. We have to get bigger pictures. We have to understand circumstances. We have to get an overview. It's a new kind of education. And so far, I see no university in the world, and even not in Silicon Valley. I mean, Silicon Valley, there is also a spiritual mentality, because nobody knows what will come in the future. So, knowledge, we need more understanding. We have more options than ever before. What does it mean? We brought a few refugees in Vienna after very hard, 6 months incredible suffering to one of the best supermarkets for 1 hour. And afterwards we made interviews and we checked their blood pressure and everything else and several else. What came out of it? For them to visit this supermarket was almost like waterboarding. It was not luxury. It was not fun. It was not the new world. It was horror to see for one hair wash, you see 800 different products. They couldn't understand. It is not necessary. So we need, as an answer to all these options, we need the ability to decide. We can't get everything. So every person has to have the power to decide what they want. Of course we can change after 2 years, after 2 weeks, after 2 days. But to move on in this radical, accelerated world, to get better decisions. And imagine all our thoughts, millions of thoughts, which are in our subconsciousness. 95% of what we think, of what we feel, is within ourselves, and we almost have no access. That's why we discovered this future psychology. I think this is the oil of the future, what we all have within our subconsciousness. This is the real private sphere. It's not that people know where we are. It's not that every telephone call is somehow recorded. No. The inside, our inside, is the value of the human beings, and that is our treasure. And no technical company is able to get access to these data so far. Our thoughts are not digitable, at least within the next 10 years. So I think if we think about it and if we try to learn this, and there are many different ways to do this. Meditation, gaming, you see all the options. Inception. Inception is you try to get a better relationship with your own subconsciousness, because your own truth is within this. And I think we need it in business. We need it in politics. We need it all over the world. So, time is running out. I'm very fascinated by this university, as I said. I think from Ben Gurion you can change a revolution. Hopefully this revolution will include also consciousness science and future psychology. You see an image there which is from a famous Moroccan artist, Abdellah Boukil. I think he's here, at least I invited him. Also, OCP bought a few pictures of him in the past already, so I'm sure you know him. But this is an image about the movement, and that's why I like it so much. I think we all should start with a movement towards a new mentality, a new consciousness. And the cheapest thing for people, very cheap, is to hate. For some, it's solving a problem. But we should learn out of it and stick much more together, and then we can do something more creative and be more ahead. I want to show you a little bit out of our research, and I give a little speech to you now for 7-8 minutes as an avatar, if you don't mind. Please. You don't mind, I sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, we know and experience that the world is changing faster than ever before. Our mind and our heart cannot keep up with this pace. The speed, the sheer mass of constantly new information and the exponential innovation of technology are a historic challenge. But even the best virtual assistants, whether robots, Alexa, or other artificial intelligence products, cannot improve our human abilities. They are just great tools. We observe that the leaders of our societies, our companies, and our world no longer have the big picture. Their own interests are the ultimate goal. Everything else is left to chance by them and also by us. If we do not want to lose the overview, control, and our freedom, we must all be active. There have never been so many global threats, but at the same time, so many fantastic opportunities. We decide which side wins. Ultimately, 3 things have to be done. We need to strengthen our fantasy, train our imagination, and tap into our subconscious. With these capabilities, we will accelerate our brains, make our emotions more flexible, and expand our perspective. To keep up with the ever-improving technology, we need to upgrade too. We have to learn to navigate the future. That works. We can do it. Our new school is the virtual space. Our new teachers are avatars. It has been proven that we learn faster virtually and forget more slowly than with the traditional way. Our brains love to play, to dream, to beam, and to discover new worlds. We ourselves can transform into an avatar with which we can travel and act in the virtual world. These flying objects of the mind will help us to become competitive again in order to harness algorithms, quantum mechanics, and everything new. The navigation of the future has begun. May I introduce now my friend Vladimir. He is the CEO of the Google Group, and he will explain to us now how we can work with avatars in the virtual world. Please, Vladi, tell us something about it.
Hi, Thomas. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, let me shortly introduce you to the DUPE group. So DUPE stands for duplication. And as you see, Thomas and me have been duplicated in a machine which is called the duplicator. So you step into the machine, and the machine takes a 360 image of you, 66 images, and wheels turn in the background, and your avatar is being produced. So having this avatar gives you the freedom to move through virtual spaces, as Thomas explained, which means we can travel through time and we can travel to the world, which means distances are dead. Just imagine what does it mean for knowledge transfer? What does it mean for education? What does it mean for social interaction? So there are a variety of cases you can use your avatar and use it in a very healthy way for the ecology, which means if you have your avatar, you don't need to travel as a global CEO of an international company to all your meetings physically. You can use your avatar and meet your managers, your employees in virtual worlds, sitting at home or in your office, and cost-cutting all these travel expenses.
Vladi, that's incredible. But for somebody who heard this for the first time, it sounds unbelievable almost. I know myself, it took me almost 3 minutes to become an avatar, and now I'm accompanying you here within this incredible space. So we can select any space, and we can invite everybody in the world who has his own avatar to be with us. This is right.
Absolutely, absolutely. So anybody in the world who's digitalized could be a part of our talk right now, or we could meet him in any space of the world. So this is, this is the shortcut in the virtual worlds. So you stay where you are, you just put on your headset, and boom, you are in the world.
Incredible. Of course, our main goal is within the context of universities to add our knowledge to a new kind of education. Since we know that our neuronal processes are allowing us to learn more in the virtual world than in the old world, we should bring as more professors, as more assistants, and as more students into this project. How can we realize that?
Yeah, this is a great point, Thomas. Actually, we would just need to digitalize these professors, experts, and bring them into virtual worlds together with students, and boom, there you go. So at that time, you can be using all the tools you are using in your regular world, from PowerPoint, Excel, every item, every tool you are using in the real world, you can be using in this world. So the knowledge transfers starts from the first minute.
So that means we can invite a professor from Australia, from China, from India. They don't have to travel, but very shortly, just through the net, they can have lectures and share them with us. That is
absolutely,
right.
absolutely. It's really, it's a cloud-based system. You go online, load your avatar into the space, and that's about it. And you be in the room, and you can have a lecture to students. You can be meeting colleagues from around the world, discussing about science. And yeah, this is the positive effect. And, another positive effect is, you're cutting costs.
Of course, yeah, that's immense. I think for the moment, Vladi, thank you very much. We see each other soon, because I may say that we are working together closely. We are developing the first future psychologists who is just working in this virtual environment. It is an incredible feeling, may I say to the audience, to be in these rooms and in these environments, and we can select every environment which is imaginable, and great. All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. All the
Bye-bye,
best.
everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Druyens. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. Well, I can tell you, I'm torn apart between two feelings, being hopeful and anxious about the future.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's logical. We just have these two choices, but I think the decision is very clear made by us. I mean, we are 7.8 billion people. We have a lot of power, and the future will be what we are intending. And the reality is a picture of our emotional and ethical circumstances.
Somebody has one question for you, please.
I thought we talk a little bit for...
No. Because we run out of time, but just wait it. We got 5 minutes left. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. He's a professor here in the university, and he has one question for you. Please welcome Mr. Younes Alami, professor here in the university, head of the Material Science Nano Engineering Department. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Druyens, for a refreshing presentation. It's quite unusual to see those kind of talks here. I have a question for you related to the kind of research that we are doing here. So we have, classically, we have research in chemistry, in physics, and materials. But lately, what we, or at least here at the university, what we're doing is looking at interdisciplinarities. And this is, as you most probably know, it's really a new approach in general all over the world. What do you think the future implications of such an approach to research in terms of research management? Yeah. Because clearly what we're doing is we're multiplying the dimensionality of the problem of research efficiency.
That's a very necessary and valuable question. Of course, there's only one chance to cooperate within science is on an interdisciplinary level. But that includes business, like UCP. Here we have a fruitful cooperation with the university. We have it in different countries because a single perception, just from a scientific point of view, is not enough anymore. Yeah? So I think it has to be accelerated, that even in natural science, that you have a participation of sociologists, so that whatever you do, you know a little bit of the effects into the society. I think you need, in these days, communication people as well. Because it doesn't matter what politicians say, obviously the country, the public, the people are thinking differently. Yeah? So we have to be there very, very professional. And I hope that you will invite more psychologists, because for me, we talk about platforms like Google and others. Our brain is still the best platform we have. And we should really try to make more out of it than we did it in the past.
Great, thank you. I think I will follow this with a question that is related. So this demands change in attitudes, change probably in culture as well, at some level. And I know that you have mentioned it also in your talk that you are working with China, with the Chinese, and you are interested in Morocco, and you have done this study of change in Germany. Now, what are the challenges of change, and how, and also related to this question also, why did you choose Morocco and China to work with?
Yeah, good question. Again, Morocco was very easy because it's a private thing. Since 12 years, I'm celebrating New Year in Marrakesh with my family. I must admit, I love, and I don't must, I am happy to admit I love Morocco. It has several reasons. It is storytelling, it is, you are very closely to heaven somehow, it's the desert, it's the mountains, so on and so on. And I like the mentality. I particularly like that in Marrakesh, for example, different religions, the Jewish people and others live peacefully together. And that's for me one of the most important countries in the world. I like the peace who is given by the king, because Algeria, Tunisia, totally different, Sub-Sahara, totally different. But of course, I'm also very egocentric. I think Europe needs Africa. I think Europe needs a better dialogue with a bridge building country like Morocco. We tried already something. Today the police president from the biggest German country, North Rhine-Westphalia, is with the mayor of Marrakesh. I spoke to the governor of Ben Guerir quite often. We try to really establish an exchange, because there are a lot of companies and a lot of people who would love to do something with Morocco. Still, the reputation in Morocco, in Germany, that's a different thing, because we have two groups. We have a few young, crazy guys and girls, or guys mostly, but we also have Moroccans very successful since 20, 30 years, and they are really successful integration after them, you know. That was the reason. And China, of course, we had to go, because if you go to Shanghai, you really see the future. This is the future, yeah. If you want to see the future, how we will live in 20 years, you can go to Shanghai now. Shanghai is not China, it's just a part, very advanced. By Beijing, something else. If you go to the countries in China, it's, of course, Middle Ages sometimes. But it doesn't matter. We have to cooperate. And I don't want to say it, but I'm really disappointed about the American government, and that's why I think we have to find a way to cooperate much more with the Chinese government.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Yunus. Thank you, Thomas, again, for this presentation.
Thank you very much.